Tonight, the head of a powerful state agency is facing heightened scrutiny from Oklahoma's most powerful elected leaders, in part because of questionable activity uncovered by the Oklahoma Impact Team.
The CEO of the Grand River Dam Authority recently got a $90,000 raise just months after jacking up customers' rates. Some say he's abused his power one too many times. Others, including the man himself, say he's worth every penny. He talks with Oklahoma Impact reporter Jennifer Lauren as she investigates the ultimate power play.
His name is Kevin Easley. I told him point blank, many people believe he used his power and influence to get himself a huge raise.
Really, it's kind of comical that they think I'm that powerful.
Here's his contract. As CEO of GRDA, Easley's now making $225,000 a year. GRDA is a state agency that works like an electricity wholesaler, providing power to hundreds of thousands of Oklahomans through co-ops and municipalities across the state. All of GRDA's customers were forced to swallow a 12% rate hike a year ago. Customers we spoke with are not happy about it. Robbie Antle says her electric bill is out of control.
It's gone up about $100 a month.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
We discovered Kevin Easley's salary includes a $90,000 raise he got just 4 months after the rate hike. But that's $90,000 more than what the law allows for his position. The GRDA board got around that when the state legislature passed a bill 3 years ago creating a new position at GRDA, Director of Investments. The board gave that position to Easley with the $90,000. Well, the author of that bill says his bill was not intended to give Easley a raise, and he's troubled it's being used that way. Senator Brian Bingman is now the president pro tem. In a statement to the Oklahoma Impact Team, he says, "I am appalled that the GRDA would use legislation designed to address a personnel need within the organization to serve as a backdoor tool to fund a salary increase."
So I'm just anxious for someone to get in there and clean that mess up.
U.S. Senator Jim Inhofe is a longtime critic of Easley, pointing to several expenditures he calls excessive, including the so-called GRDA Playhouse, an office space Easley rented at one time above Hooters in Oklahoma City's Bricktown. Inhofe has even expressed his concerns on Capitol Hill, stating in a Senate committee hearing, Easley appears to be using the people of Oklahoma to fill his appetite of luxury and excess. He says the latest rate hike and Easley's raise are proof of that.
Kevin Easley is a very gifted person. I think he's abused that.
Before he was CEO of GRDA, Kevin Easley was a Democratic state senator. In fact, he's the very state legislator who wrote Senate Bill 408 in 2003. It gutted the structure of GRDA's administration and put a new one in place. Just months later, Easley resigned his position in the Senate and took over the newly restructured GRDA.
It violated the law. There is no way around it as far as I'm concerned.
Republican State Representative Mike Reynolds says it's clear Easley used his power to create that job for himself and then got the right people appointed to the board of directors. Reynolds admits he cannot prove it, but he believes Easley used that same power to create his raise.
No, I think he owes the people of Oklahoma a lot of money. I think he owes the ratepayers of the Grand River Dam Authority a lot of money, and I think he needs to resign his job or be removed.
Let me tell you about how I grew up.
But the chairman of GRDA's board, Tulsa businessman David Chernicky, is offended by all of the accusations against Easley.
This man was the driving force in accomplishing bringing the GRDA up to a modern agency.
He points to the fact that GRDA's bond ratings went from junk bond status to an A rating, a huge turnaround. He says that alone saves customers millions and Easley deserves to be rewarded.
I think it's a bargain. I'd pay him twice that if he'd come to work for me.
Plus, Chernicky says if Easley worked in the private sector, his salary would be much higher. Easley agrees.
It's a nice salary, but it's also for this position and holding both positions, I think it's probably well below the market.
Easley says the proof of his worth is in the future stability of one of Oklahoma's largest power sources.
So I think they ought to look at it like, let's look at his total work. How many millions of dollars has he saved the ratepayers related to his total work?
But that's not how many Oklahomans see it.
No, that's not right. It's not right. I mean, we're all having hard times up here.
Jennifer Lauren, the Oklahoma Impact Team.
Now, Easley recently signed a 5-year contract worth $1.1 million. Representative Reynolds says he'll ask the Attorney General if that contract is legal. Meantime, Governor Fallon tells our Oklahoma Impact team she has asked the state auditor for a performance audit of the management of GRDA. And Senate President Pro Tem Brian Bingman says he's looking into legislative remedies to protect GRDA customers from what he calls backdoor pay raises. We've provided documentation of all of our findings, including a copy of Easley's contract. Log on to newson6.com/Oklahoma Impact.
Scott and Terry, board members tell me Easley's resignation was not a huge surprise, but new political powers at the state capitol played a role in his decision.
Anybody in a position like this is going to make enemies, and certainly I have.
Kevin Easley is no stranger to controversy, and certainly his decision to leave the Grand River Dam Authority will have critics digging for dirt. Shortly after taking office, Governor Mary Fallon asked the state auditor to do a performance audit of Easley and the GRDA, which is underway right now. But Easley told the GRDA board his resignation has nothing to do with the audit. He's taking another job. In a statement, he says, "The opportunity I've been given to move into the private sector comes at a good time for me and my family, and I simply cannot turn it down." But Easley stopped short of telling us where.
I mean, I guess Mr. Easley could have stayed at a lower salary.
The chairman of GRDA's board, David Chernicky, told me in a previous interview he'd like to hire Easley.
I think as a board, I'd pay him twice that if he'd come to work for me.
In that interview, Chernicky was defending a $90,000 raise the board gave Easley for taking on an additional position last year. But the raise was kept quiet until we discovered it. And since then, one state lawmaker has asked the Attorney General to look into the way it was handled.
No, I think he owes the people of Oklahoma a lot of money. I think he owes the ratepayers of the Grand River Dam Authority a lot of money. And I think he needs to resign his job or be removed.
Representative Mike Reynolds also called into question the way Easley got the CEO job in the first place. Once a state senator, Easley authored a bill restructuring the GRDA's board, then left office to take over the agency's top job.
He did allow the GRDA to become a better managed institution.
But other GRDA board members, like Tulsa Mayor Dewey Bartlett, say through all the controversy, Easley should be credited with turning the state agency around.
I think he's done a good job, and you know, some people have a different view of things, and that's their opinion.
Bartlett says Easley will receive no severance. His last day on the job will be June 1st, then he'll take 2 months of accrued vacation. We'll keep you updated on the audit. For Oklahoma Impact, I'm Jennifer Lauren.
But first, a state audit reveals the Grand River Dam Authority is ripe for fraud, waste, and abuse.
As we first told you at 5 and 6, the audit addresses several problems at the state agency, including possible conflicts of interest. Our Oklahoma Impact team has details tonight on relationships some call the good old boy network gone bad, using a state agency to line the pockets of well-connected people. Jennifer Lauren investigates.
The Grand River Dam Authority is a state agency that provides wholesale power to smaller suppliers across the state. To get power to its customers, GRDA needs power poles. Some of those poles are built by a young Claremore company called Pelco Structural. Phil Albert is Pelco's president. We interviewed Albert months ago as a successful Oklahoma businessman.
We think opportunities for small businesses like ours are plentiful. We think it's a matter of seizing those opportunities, and we think hard work pays off.
But some GRDA employees don't believe hard work is what brought Pelco and GRDA together. They asked us to investigate Phil Albert's relationship with the GRDA board member, David Chernicky.
Mr. Chernicky?
Yes.
As a GRDA board member, Chernicky has voted on billions of dollars worth of transactions for the state agency, including GRDA's purchase of Pelco power poles. David Chernicky is Phil Albert's brother-in-law. In June of 2007, Pelco Structural won a bid with the GRDA to make $1 million worth of poles. Pelco got the contract when the GRDA board, including Chernicky, voted to approve it. Since then, Chernicky has voted on several occasions to approve many millions more in Pelco jobs. But according to other board members, he never disclosed his family ties to Albert and Pelco.
So the question is it a conflict of interest for David Chernicky to approve millions of dollars in state business to his brother-in-law's company? Both men claim they've done nothing illegal or unethical, and Albert points to the fact that Pelco won its jobs through the competitive bidding process.
So we dug through hundreds of GRDA's Pelco bid documents. We discovered when Pelco won that 2007 bid with GRDA, it was not the lowest bidder. Pelco won the award because GRDA engineers said the two lowest bidders did not meet the project's requirements. But both losing companies turned in protest letters arguing they did meet the requirements. In the end, Pelco still won out. Chernicky never responded to my request for an interview, but in a phone conversation with Phil Albert, he said his brother-in-law has no financial interest in Pelco and nothing to gain from its GRDA contracts. But we found at the same time Pelco was winning those GRDA jobs, Albert was also the vice president of Chernicky's oil and gas company, New Dominion. Still, Albert says those ties do not legally add up to a conflict of interest.
They're not real clear.
State Auditor Gary Jones says Oklahoma's conflict of interest laws are weak, and he is working to strengthen them.
And people become very distrustful with government, and that's one of the things we need to do is do everything we can to clear up any questions there might be, so people will instantly be able to tell, yes, based on this, they do have a conflict of interest. Maybe they shouldn't be on a board, maybe they shouldn't be voting on particular things. And let's make that clear.
In his audit of the GRDA, Jones said the brother-in-law's relationship does not appear to be an illegal conflict of interest, but does recommend that the Attorney General review the situation to see if any laws were broken. Jennifer Lauren, the Oklahoma Impact Team.
In a text message late tonight, Chernicky responded saying, among other things, I serve for public good, not personal gain. We've posted the entire GRDA audit on our website, newson6.com.